Ever feel like you're just drowning in to-dos? Like, where do you even start?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. You're not alone for sure.
Yeah.
So today, we're diving into Eat That Frog by Brian Tracy, and it's really all about tackling your biggest, most daunting tasks head on,
Yeah.
and then making those big wins kind of like work for you, right?
What I find fascinating about this approach is it's like it flips the script on traditional time management, right? Because
Mm.
usually it's all about like get it all done, fit it all in.
Right.
But this is really about being like super strategic.
Yeah.
And it encourages you to focus on the tasks that really make a difference.
Exactly. And this whole frog analogy, I don't know why, but it really grabbed me. Have you ever heard, if you eat a live frog first thing in the morning, nothing worse can happen to you all day.
It's a powerful visual,
Oh,
right?
it is.
Like it really sticks with you.
It does.
The frog represents that one task. You
Yeah.
know, the one, that big important thing you just keep putting off.
Right. And what Tracy's saying is once that's out of the way, everything else just seems so much easier.
Oh, yeah. But why is it so important to eat the frog first? Is it just to, get it off our plate? Or is there something, more to it?
There's a deeper reason. When you accomplish something challenging, your brain, it releases endorphins, and it's like a natural reward system. And it can actually create a kind of positive addiction to success.
Wow.
So starting your day with a win sets you up for more wins. It's pretty cool.
Okay, so it's not just about clearing that to-do list. It's about that mindset shift, right? So
Okay.
it's setting yourself up for a more productive, but also just a more positive day.
Yeah.
Now, I'm curious about something. The book talks a lot about the importance of actually writing down your goals. Like, why is that such a big deal?
Well, because very, very few people actually do it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Tracy says, only around 3% of people actually take the time to write down their goals.
No.
And the thing is, the people who do, they tend to achieve so much more than those who don't. It makes sense if you think about it.
Okay.
If you don't have a clear target, how are you supposed to hit it?
That's so true, yeah. It's funny, there's this story in the book that I thought was so relatable. It's about these aspiring screenwriters, in LA, and they're always saying their scripts are almost done,
Oh, yeah.
but they haven't even started writing.
Classic.
Yeah. And it's just like they're avoiding that initial jump into action,
Yeah, it's a classic example of how not having clarity, on your goals can really lead to procrastination.
Right.
A written goal, it forces you to really think about what you want,
Yeah.
and then it helps you, create a plan to actually get there.
Okay. So how does the 80-20 rule, the idea that 20% of your effort produces 80% of your results, how does that fit into all of this?
Well, it highlights how important it is to identify those crucial 20% tasks and to do those first, right? It's about being really smart with your time and your energy. And what's really interesting is that, I don't know about you, but I tend to procrastinate on the very tasks that could have the biggest impact.
Oh, me too. For sure.
Maybe it's because they seem more challenging,
Yeah.
or we're just scared of failing. I don't know.
That's definitely true for me, yeah. So how do we overcome that tendency to put off those important tasks? The book mentions something called creative procrastination, which to me that sounds a bit counterintuitive.
Yeah, it's not about procrastinating on everything. It's about being deliberate about what you choose to put off. You can't do everything, right?
Right.
So you have to be selective about what you say yes to.
Yeah.
And that means saying no to some things, even if they feel urgent at the time.
Okay, so you're saying it's okay to let some things slide.
Absolutely. It's about making sure you have the space and energy to focus on the things that will really move the needle in your life.
That's kind of a relief to hear. But then how do we figure out what to focus on? Like, I'm always looking for those aha moments where things click into place,
Eat That Frog
Mm-hmm.
really encourages you to identify and leverage your strengths. What are you uniquely good at?
Right.
And then how can you apply those talents to reach your goals?
Oh, that's good.
When you're working in your zone of genius, not only are you more productive, but you're also just more fulfilled.
That makes so much sense. It's not just about working harder, it's about working smarter and working in a way that feels good.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that brings us to the idea of key constraints. The book really emphasizes figuring out what those bottlenecks are, the things that are holding you back.
Okay.
And they can be internal, like maybe you have limiting beliefs or external, like a lack of
Oh,
resources.
that's interesting. Okay, so we've identified those frogs. We're all pumped to tackle them first thing in the morning. But what if those big tasks are just like they just feel overwhelming?
Right. Well, that's where breaking things down into smaller steps can really help.
Okay.
Tracy talks about the salami slice and the Swiss cheese methods. Have you heard of those?
I've heard the phrases, but I don't know that I like really understand how they work.
So the salami slice is about taking a task, that big one,
Yeah,
and just slicing it up into smaller, more manageable pieces,
got it.
like slicing a salami. You eat it one slice at a time. And then with the Swiss cheese method, you're committing to working on a task for a short, focused period, even just 5 or 10 minutes. So you're like punching holes in that big task, and it makes it feel a lot less daunting.
Oh, that's brilliant. I can see how that would be so helpful just to get over that initial overwhelm.
Exactly. It's all about creating momentum and making progress, even if it's just a little bit at a time.
And speaking of momentum, I find that when I can actually block out these large chunks of uninterrupted time, like I get so much more done, but finding that time can be like the biggest challenge.
Oh, it's so true.
Yeah.
So be strategic with your schedule. Block out some dedicated time for focused work. Even an hour or two can make a big difference. And then, when you're in that time block, no distractions. Phone on silent, close your email, just focus.
Sometimes even with the best intentions, like I really struggle to just stay focused. It's like my brain is wired for distraction.
Oh, I feel you. You're definitely not alone.
Yeah.
That's where, single handling comes in.
Oh, right. I know we talked about that earlier, but can you like really explain what it means?
Sure. It's about like really resisting the urge to multitask
Okay.
and instead just focusing on one task, one thing at a time until it's completely done. Tracy actually says that starting and stopping a task repeatedly can increase the time it takes to complete it by like 500%.
Oh my gosh, are you serious?
Yeah, it can be a huge drain on your productivity. So next time you're working on something, try to stay laser focused on that one thing until it's done. You might be surprised how much more efficient you are.
That's really good advice. I'm going to try that. But, even with all the right techniques, there are just some days where my energy is just not there.
That's why it's so important to manage your energy, not just your time. Think of it like filling your tank, right? When your energy's low, those frogs, they just start to look a lot bigger. Yeah.
Oh, it's so true. They get like scarier.
Yeah.
So how can we make sure that our tanks are like full and we're ready to tackle those challenges?
Well, Tracy recommends focusing on the key areas that really impact your overall well-being. Things like getting enough sleep, eating nutritious food, taking breaks to recharge. You can't pour from an empty cup, right?
That's absolutely right. Sometimes those simplest things, they make the biggest difference, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so we've talked about tackling those big frogs first, breaking them down into smaller steps, and managing our energy. But how do we actually motivate ourselves to take action?
Well, that's where mindset comes in. Tracy really emphasizes cultivating a sense of urgency, developing an internal drive to get things done. It's not about stressing yourself out, but more about tapping into that inner motivation that pushes you forward.
So it's about like finding that fire within.
Exactly, that desire to make things happen. And one way to do that is to really focus on your why. Why is this goal important to you? What will you gain by achieving it? When you have a clear sense of purpose, it makes it a lot easier to overcome those moments of resistance.
That's a great point. I know that for me, when I'm really passionate about something, I'm much more likely to take action, for sure.
Absolutely. And Tracy also talks about the power of positive self-talk.
Yeah.
It's about becoming your own cheerleader,
Yeah.
focusing on your successes, and even reframing those setbacks as learning opportunities.
I've heard that before, but I'm always a little, I don't know, skeptical about like the self-affirmation stuff.
It's not about just repeating empty phrases.
Oh.
It's about consciously shifting your internal dialogue from like negative to positive. Instead of saying, I can't do this, try saying, I'm going to figure this out. It's about believing in your ability to succeed.
Okay, I can see how that would make a difference. Yeah. It's about building that self-confidence
Yeah.
and believing that you can actually overcome those challenges.
Right. And it's also about celebrating your wins, both the big ones and the small ones. Every time you accomplish something, just take a moment to acknowledge your effort and give yourself some credit.
Oh, I like that. It's easy to get so caught up in the like, what's next mentality
Yeah.
and forget to appreciate how far we've already come.
Exactly. Celebrating your wins helps you stay motivated and it builds momentum. It's like this positive feedback loop and it really reinforces that belief in yourself.
Okay, so we've talked about managing our energy, finding our why, cultivating that positive mindset and celebrating those wins. Are there any other like practical techniques that can help us eat those frogs more effectively?
Absolutely. Remember we talked about the importance of planning?
Yeah.
Tracy emphasizes that every minute you spend in planning can save you 5 or 10 minutes in execution.
That's a good quote. I'm a big believer in to-do lists, but I often get overwhelmed by like the sheer number of things I need to do. So how can we make sure we're actually focusing on the right tasks?
Well, Tracy recommends using something called the ABCDE method. Have you ever tried that?
I haven't. What is it?
It's a simple but very powerful way to prioritize your tasks. It's based on their importance and their urgency.
Okay, I'm all ears. Tell me more.
It's pretty straightforward. You basically go through your list and you label each task with a letter,
Yeah.
A, B, C, D, or E.
Okay, so what do those letters, what do they represent?
A, tasks, those are the ones that are very important. If you don't get them done, there's serious consequences. These are your big frogs, the ones you should tackle first.
Okay, got it. So what about B tasks?
B tasks are still important, but the consequences of not doing them are a little milder. And then you have C tasks, which are things that, be nice to do, but there aren't any real consequences if you don't get to them. D tasks are things you can delegate to someone else.
Right.
And finally, E tasks, those are the ones you should just eliminate completely.
Oh, that makes so much sense. It really helps you to like clearly identify those high impact tasks
Right.
and then let go of the stuff that really doesn't matter.
Exactly. And once you've got your tasks prioritized using that ABCDE method, then you can use the other techniques we've been talking about. Break them down, single handle them until they're done.
It's like having this whole toolkit for tackling any task, big or small.
It is.
But even with the best tools, and techniques, it's so easy to get sidetracked or lose motivation. So how do we stay focused? How do we stay on track?
Well, Tracy talks a lot about the importance of creating a distraction-free work environment. So that means minimizing interruptions, turning off those notifications, and setting boundaries with other people. It's about creating a space where you can really focus and do your best work.
This is where I struggle the most, I think. I'm constantly bombarded with emails, texts, social media. It's never ending.
Oh yeah, I hear you. It's definitely a common challenge, especially now, this hyper-connected world that we live in.
Right.
But remember, you have the power to control your environment.
Okay.
Try setting specific times to check your email and social media.
Huh.
Turn off notifications when you need to focus.
It's a good reminder. It's about being intentional, right, with our time and attention and not letting ourselves get pulled in a million directions.
Exactly. And if you do find yourself getting distracted, you can try the 5-minute rule. Just commit to working on a task for 5 minutes. And a lot of times once you get started, you realize, okay, I can keep going. You can stay focused for longer.
Oh, I love that. It's like tricking your brain into taking action.
It is. Sometimes those little mental hacks, they can really make a big difference.
They can. And, don't forget about accountability. I think sharing your goals with someone else or even just writing them down can help you stay committed.
Absolutely. Having an accountability partner can be incredibly helpful. It's like having someone to cheer you on,
Yeah,
and keep you on track, especially when you're tempted to give up.
it's true. And it's not just about having someone to like hold you accountable. It's about having someone to celebrate those wins with too.
Oh, for sure. It's always more fun to achieve goals when you've got someone to share the journey with.
Okay. We've covered a lot of ground here, I feel like. We talked about mindset, planning, prioritizing, and that distraction-free work environment and just the power of accountability. But I have a feeling there's even more to explore in Eat That Frog.
Oh, absolutely. We've only just scratched the surface.
Yeah.
There are so many valuable insights in this book. Things that can help you be more productive and effective in all areas of your life.
Well, then let's keep this deep dive going. I'm ready. I want to keep unpacking all these strategies and Eat That Frog. It's like we're building this like toolkit, to conquer those big important tasks. What else can we add to this toolkit?
Well, one of the things that I think is really powerful is the idea of technology leveraging. It's all about using technology to actually help you be more productive, not less.
Okay, I'm intrigued, but isn't technology like often the source of our distraction? I know I spend way too much time on social media or getting lost down those internet rabbit holes. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Technology can be a double-edged sword for sure. The key is to really be intentional about how you're using it. So think about what tools and apps can actually help you streamline your work,
Okay.
automate those repetitive tasks, or, just help you stay more organized.
So it's about choosing the right tools for the job and using them strategically.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
it's also about setting those boundaries. So turn off those notifications, schedule specific times for checking your email, use website blockers if you need to. Don't let technology control you, you control it.
That's a great reminder, yeah. It's easy to get caught up in those shiny new gadgets and apps, but we really need to make sure they're actually serving us, not the other way around.
Absolutely. Another thing that Tracy talks about that I think is really important is upgrading your key skills. So it's all about investing in your own personal and professional development
Okay.
so you can become even more effective in those areas that are really crucial for your success.
I love that. It's all about being a lifelong learner, right? And
Mhm.
always striving to improve. But with so many demands on our time, like how do we actually make time for learning and development?
Well, Tracy suggests just setting aside a specific amount of time each day, even if it's just 30 minutes, and dedicating that time to reading or listening to podcasts.
Right.
Taking some online courses related to your field.
Yeah.
You could also attend industry events, network with other professionals, or even just make a conscious effort to learn something new every day.
Those are all great ideas. I've always found that when I make that time for learning, I feel so much more energized and motivated in my work.
Oh, totally. It's about feeding your mind and expanding your horizons. And the more you learn, the more confident you become, you know? The more competent you become.
This is really starting to come together, I feel like. We've talked about mindset, planning, prioritizing, and, using technology wisely and continuous learning. It feels like we've covered a lot of ground.
We have, but there's one final piece of this puzzle that I think is super important to putting all these principles into practice.
Okay, I'm all ears. What is it?
It's the importance of taking action.
Yeah.
You can read all the self-help books in the world, but if you don't actually apply what you're learning, it's not going to make any difference.
That's so true. It's so easy to get stuck in that planning and preparation phase, but at some point, you gotta take that leap of faith and just start doing.
Exactly. And that's really where the concept of eating the frog comes full circle. It's about taking action, even when it's uncomfortable, even when you're scared, even when you'd rather be doing anything else. It's about choosing to do the hard things first and then experiencing the rewards that come with that.
It's about proving to yourself that you're capable of more than you think you are.
Yes, precisely. And the more you do it, the easier it gets. You build momentum, you gain confidence, you start to see yourself as someone who takes action and gets things done.
Oh, I love that. It's about transforming ourselves, right?
Yeah.
Like, from procrastinators to action takers, from dreamers to doers.
Exactly. And that transformation can be so empowering. When you realize that you have the power to choose your actions, you realize you have the power to shape your own destiny.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Brian Tracy's Eat That Frog,
Yeah.
what's the one key takeaway you want our listeners to remember?
That they have the power to choose. They can choose their actions, their mindset, their priorities, and ultimately their results.
That is a powerful message. And it's a great reminder that we're not victims of circumstance,
Mm.
We are creators of our own reality.
Well said. And remember, eating your frogs, it doesn't have to be a chore. It can be an exciting adventure. It's about challenging yourself, pushing your limits, and discovering what you're truly capable of.
I am so inspired. I'm ready to go out there and tackle some frogs.
That's the spirit. And remember, even small steps can lead to big results. So just start with one frog, one task, one action, and then keep going.
This has been such an insightful deep dive. I hope our listeners are feeling as empowered as I am to take action and make those big wins happen.
I do too. And remember, the journey of 1,000 miles, it begins with a single step. Or in this case, a single frog.
So what are you waiting for? Go eat that frog.